Assalamu alaikum. This is Dr. Ijaz Qureshi from Toronto, Canada. Welcome to the show. Today we have a person who is a great political leader. If you want to be a political leader yourself, or you want to be a social worker, you want to serve humanity, you have to watch this entire show. Today our guest is Mr. Imran Mian. He is the Liberal provincial nomination candidate for Mississauga-Erin Mills constituency. He has been to York University. He did his graduation from there. He is vice president at Mobile Life. He has worked at Bell Canada and Samsung Canada. He has a long history with the Liberal Party of Canada. He has been involved in lots and lots of social work. He's a great person. I will find out with you how he does all these things. And I will ask him some grilling questions too at the same time. And our panelist is Mr. Arshad Awan. He will be joining us momentarily in a few minutes. All right, so let's get it started with Mr. Imran Mian. Mr. Imran Mian, thank you very much for taking time out for the community. I really appreciate it. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dr. Qureshi. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So without any further ado, let's talk about yourself. Please tell us, how did this journey started right from the beginning, from your schooling and until today, where you are today? How did you get here?
Well, I was fortunate enough to move to Canada at a very young age when my parents moved here in the mid-'80s. So I was able to go to high school here and also finish my university. Beyond that, after I graduated from York University, I started working in corporate Canada, starting with one of the largest computer software and hardware distributors in the world. That was my first job, and then from there, just moving on to other positions, and then just earning senior positions as I went along in my career. And as you rightly pointed out in your introduction, I am now a VP of sales at a software company. We specialize in digital transformation, and I get to work with some of the smartest people on the planet. My political journey began, I would say, about 12 to 13 years ago. Just and not because I wanted to become a candidate. It was more about really making sure that we were at the table where policy discussions were taking place. And we wanted to make sure as a community, as a family, that we were partaking in this process because Canada is home. And, instead of just complaining about things, I felt that it was important to get involved and try to do my part in bringing about positive change. And that's how I got started. And I studied different political parties' platforms and philosophies. And after doing a good amount of research, I realized that the Liberal Party and its philosophy and its platform was something that was very close to my values. And also it provided me a platform where I could advocate on behalf of the community and the constituents of Mississauga-Erin Mills.
Awesome.
So today I am proudly a nomination candidate for the Ontario Liberal Party from Mississauga-Erin Mills.
Great, awesome. So please tell us now, since you are a candidate for the provincial nomination for Liberal Party, what is your agenda? What you want to tell people, that what you want to do for people for your constituency?
Well, what I want to do is I want to make sure that every person living in Ontario, whether new or old, young Canadian or old, seniors or new Canadians, people who recently graduate or people who come from overseas with a lot of good experience, I want to make sure that everybody has a quality of opportunity. I want to make sure that we provide them the the tools and the framework so that everybody could reach their full potential. So I will be fighting hard for the people of Mississauga-Erin Mills to make sure that right now our economy is doing really well, but going forward, how do we ensure that we continue with this momentum and with this growth? And, we have the lowest unemployment rate in the last few years, but how do we keep this momentum? So I think focusing on innovation, focusing on small to medium businesses would be key to maintaining this growth in our economy. So that's what I would be focusing on, fighting for people of Mississauga-Erin Mills.
That's awesome. So you talked about SMBs, and that's a great thing. But again, in terms of the job, so how you plan to create jobs for the people who are within your constituency?
Well, there's, in my opinion, we as a government and we as a society, we need to focus on innovation as the centerpiece of our economic agenda. And what I mean by that is we have a lot of talent in our province. We have very smart students graduating from universities like UTM, which is right in my constituency, Ryerson University, where they have a startup zone called DMZ. We have in Waterloo, we have the University of Waterloo, where they have another startup incubator called Community Tech. So these types of clusters where innovation could take place, where people who have good ideas but lack the resources, financial resources, and the support to help commercialize their ideas, it's where the government can play a big role in enabling and empowering these future and present entrepreneurs who have excellent ideas, who are solving business problems, and we're bringing about technologies that improve our lives. So as a government, we have to focus on this as a key pillar of our growth.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. So let's talk about, now since everybody is talking about green and environmental issues and, how you plan or how you intend to build a green economy, in terms of the building insulation, greenhouse gases, or thermal resources, and how you would foster a greater level of cooperation with the environmental issues. What is your plan?
Right. So I think the government of Ontario has been working hard to make sure that we focus on green energy. One of the things they recently did was that they struck a contract with, for example, Ontario and California, where the goal is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. And this plan will kick in from 2021, where these three regions will collaborate to put a cap on greenhouse, which will force companies to reduce and meet those targets. But aside from that, I think this has to be a cultural shift. I would say, it has to be a paradigm shift in how we think, how we live. As an example, in our daily lives, what are we doing as individuals to make sure that we're not wasting energy, we're conserving our resources. So I think it starts from me, it starts from my family, and then as a society, I think we can bring about this much needed change to make sure that we leave our planet in a better shape than we inherited for our future generations.
Awesome. That's great. So my next question to you, Mr. Imran Mian, is how we're gonna reduce the poverty? There are poor people. We know that's a fact. So we can't really neglect that fact at all. So how are you gonna do that? Plus, there are people who are working, men and women,
Right.
regardless of the gender, and they have families, they have kids, children which are still not going to school, they're small kids, and they have to drop them at the child care center. What are your plans to really improve that? Because if the development of the child care center, is that an agenda for you or it's not?
Very good question. So, as somebody who volunteered for a number of years at the United Way of Peel region, I understand and I can appreciate, the people that are struggling. Even though our economy is doing really well, but there's a lot of people that are still struggling to make their ends meet. So the Ontario Liberal government has introduced what we call the Basic Income Pilot Project. I'm not sure if you or your viewers are aware of it. It was launched recently last year, I believe. They're targeting 3 different communities, I believe in Hamilton, Brant, and one other region, where they are going to be providing basic income to these communities, the targeted families, so they could have the basic necessities of life, for example, food, shelter, those types of things. So that will be one way of making sure that we are leaving nobody behind. But also at the same time, there's a number of measures that should be taken to address poverty and also affordability. I mean, affordability is a major issue. Real estate's going through the roof. This government's taken some measures to cool that off a little bit by bringing some changes to the mortgage rules, and as well as foreign investment into our real estate market. Because I know when I graduated a few years ago, I graduated with a lot of OSAP loan that I had to pay off. I was worried about getting a full-time job, and at the same time, I wanted to settle down, get married, have a family. With all these pressures on young graduates, the real estate market is not very helpful. So it's very important for the government to really bring about these measures where we're actually tackling poverty reduction, we're tackling affordability in terms of our regions and across the GTA, across the province.
Great. We have our friend asking, his name is Rehan Alawala, he's asking how to add him as a friend. So can you please tell them how they can add you as a friend?
That is the best question that anybody could ask me, and it's the most easy one to answer. So you could look me up, Imran Mian, 2018 is my page, or you could just look me up, Imran Mian, and I would love to connect with you.
Awesome, that's great.
Thank you for that question.
And Mazhar Mirza is saying something.
Mazhar Mirza Sahab saying, laughing out loud. So
about your WhatsApp.
I guess you're enjoying this interview, or you missed?
No, the right question. Mr. Imran Mian, is he laughing with us or he's laughing at us?
Well, in either case, I think it's entertaining that people are listening to us. So I'm glad either way.
That's great. Awesome. All right. So we have more questions for you, but I have a panelist with us today. His name is Mr. Arshad Awan. He runs Satrang TV on Omni channel, and I'm inviting him to join us today to ask you some questions. I hope you don't mind.
I would love to. Arshad Bhai is a very well-known community member, and I've met him a number of times. So I'm glad he's able to join us today.
Awesome. So after you, Arshad bhai.
Go easy on me, please, huh?
All right, go ahead, Arshad bhai. You're on.
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम इमरान मियां सर कैसे हैं आप?
Walaikum assalam. I'm doing well, sir.
I want to say thank you to you for your time, and also I want to thank Dr. Ijaz Qureshi for giving me this opportunity. And I have like a very basic question. There's a lot of talks about the community, and
Yes.
I want to ask you, what is community to you? Like, how do you define community, please?
Community to me is where I live. People around me, my neighbors, this on to my right, my neighbors to the left, people where I work, where I shop. That's what I call my community.
Very good, very good. Am I allowed to ask another question?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. I see like a lot of excitement going on, like in the campaign and everything, but the thing which really matters is the election day.
Correct.
And my question to you is, how are you gonna bring those voters to the election station?
Well, hopefully, I will have worked very, very hard to get them excited about this process, and I'm working every day, 18 hours a day. I still have a full-time job, so I'm managing that during the day. But when I meet with people, I hear their concerns, and they're very concerned about the job prospects, the economy, making sure there's better healthcare, lower auto insurance rates. So they're looking for somebody who has the experience and who could hit the ground running from day one. And I believe that I am that person. And because of my connection based on my experience and my track record, I think people will be very motivated to come out and make sure that they select the right candidate.
Thank you, Mr. Imran Mian. Thank you very much. My time is up. And thank you, Dr. Saab. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate your time, Arshad bhai. Thank you so much. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Arshad Awan from Satrang TV. And we have our guest today, Mr. Imran Mian. He is the Liberal Party provincial nomination candidate. And we are asking him some difficult questions. And he's doing good so far. So let's see how he does from now on.
Ooh.
All right. So, Mr. Imran Mian, thank you so much again. Once again, I mean, it's wonderful talking to you.
Likewise.
Thank you. So now, I'm old. I'm 60 years old, and and there are other.
Because I can't tell. Old.
But thank you. I'm flattered.
It's the new 40. Come on.
So there are other friends as well, in the community who are older, and we have lots of issues going on in terms of dementia and Alzheimer's and things like that. And the mental health is becoming really a challenging issue for the community, and we have to address that. So, do you have any plan to address the mental health facilities to be created for the elderly people?
Well, there is no health without mental health, first of all. And as somebody who witnessed a parent suffer through this, through dementia, my mother, who is no longer with us, she suffered from dementia, short-term memory loss. I do feel that this is something very important, and it's not just specific to mental health. Is not specific to one demographic of our society. Mental health affects the youth, the young, the old, and everybody. So I think I'm very pleased to see that both levels of government, provincial and federal, level governments are making this a priority to first acknowledge that this problem exists and that we have to do something about it. But I'm also very pleased to see that the private sector is coming on board. One of my previous employers that you mentioned in your opening introduction, I'm very proud of the work they're doing around mental health. You know, they've committed about $100 million to tackle this this disease. So I think, again, as a society, we have to first recognize that we have this issue, and then we have to go and seek help. And I think it would be helpful to have centers where people can easily access these types of services. And I know there's a number of organizations that I mentioned, the United Way, and there's other social services or non-for-profit organizations that are providing services around mental health. So I'm kind of pleased to see that it's being taken very seriously, but we could always do better, and there more needs to be done on this front.
Absolutely. Why I asked that question, Mr. Imran Mian, is that my wife has been suffering from Alzheimer's and dementia for past 6 years, and she has been in and out of the hospital. She is at home right now, but you know, it's really difficult to manage that situation. You know, so that's why I wanted to find out, for the benefit of the community, that what is government doing about you know, or what the candidates intend to do about that. So thank you so much for sharing your personal information as well. I really appreciate it. My personal information is public, so because I share everything with my viewers, and you know, there's nothing hidden about me. So thank you so much for sharing that. I really admire that. Now the next question is about you know, our city. You know, we live in Mississauga. Erin Mills is part of Mississauga, and you are a nomination candidate for that constituency. We have been talking about city. The honorable mayor talks about it a lot, and you know, the previous mayors have done a tremendous job to really bring the city and, you know, self-sustain and things like that. But again, when it comes to going forward, what are your plans to sustain the city, like a sustainable Mississauga or something like that, in terms of transportation, communication, public shelters, you know, the food banks and all those kind of things? What do you see?
Right. So I think this is a very important question. Sustainable Mississauga, as you said. I think we, as a society, and as different levels of government, particularly the provincial government, the federal government, and the municipal government, we have to collaborate to tackle challenges and bring solutions. Right, gone are the days where you would, as a provincial rep or as a federal rep, say, "Oh, this is not my jurisdiction." You know, you have to go to your councillor or you have to go to your MPP. I think we need to bring people who have the capability to work as a team and who can bring different stakeholders together to come up with solutions. So that is kind of the mindset that we have to have. But in terms of specifically what should be done, I think we have to make sure that we are creating jobs locally here in Mississauga. Our mayor is doing a fantastic job in attracting new businesses. She's traveled overseas. Our premier is in New York talking business, trying to bring investment into our province. Our prime minister is going to the U.S. to meet with different businesses. And in fact, one person that he's going to be meeting with one-on-one is the CEO of Amazon. As you know, there was a bid to open the second headquarters for Amazon, and Toronto was the only city that was shortlisted on that bid. So this means that there's potentially 50,000 jobs that could be created in the region of Toronto. So that's one way. You make sure that you focus on clean energy, green economy. You focus on technology, where technology could be leveraged to improve healthcare, to improve traffic congestions. Traffic congestions is a major issue for people to connect with other areas from one region, from Mississauga to Toronto, Mississauga downtown, Mississauga Brampton, Mississauga Waterloo. So connectivity, I think, is very important, and I think technology could be leveraged to make sure that we're optimizing our routes. Because how many more highways can we build? I think we have to use the existing infrastructure and leverage new innovation. That's why I always talk about innovation, to see where are the bottlenecks. How can we move traffic around from here to there more efficiently, right? So these are some of the things that need to be done. We have to have more childcare spaces so that people could feel safe leaving their children. The provincial government's investing millions of dollars in creating more childcare spaces across Ontario. But those are some of the things, and then of course the social services sector plays an important role. We talked about poverty reduction, so it's everybody working together, and the representatives at the provincial, federal, and municipal level. It's their job to make sure that they bring everybody together to talk about these challenges and come up with solutions. Government alone cannot do everything. So that's why the citizens engagement is very, very important as well. So these are some of the things that we have to focus on to make sure that Mississauga is already a thriving city, but I want Mississauga to be the best city on the planet. And these are some of the things that we should be looking at.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you very much for the detailed answer to my question, Mr. Imran Mian. So I think our time is about to be up. What would you say to the viewers as your final word, and what message would you like to give to them?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you so much for having this conversation with me. And thank you to all the viewers for tuning in and the questions. We had a couple of interesting questions. Thank you for their time and their patience with my long-winded answers. What I would like to say is, especially to the people of Mississauga-Erin Mills, I am your Ontario Liberal candidate, Ontario Liberal nomination candidate. You have a choice to make on March 18th. There's a few more days left for you to sign up and get involved in the process, because in this process, you will potentially be selecting the next member of provincial parliament. So every one of you, there's 120,000 people, every one of you has the power to get involved in the process and make sure that your voice is heard on March 18th. And I will just reiterate what I'm hearing at the door is that the people of Mississauga-Erin Mills are looking for somebody who has the experience, who understands the challenges, who can bring solutions, who has a very clear vision of how to keep growing this economy and how to create more jobs. And that's what I'm hearing at the door, and I hope you will get involved in the process and ensure that you have a very strong voice at Queen's Park, and I would be honored to be your representative. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you. Viewers, you heard Mr. Imran Mian, what he is requesting you. So please follow his directions, his instructions. He was with us today to answer some of the questions, share about his personal life, and share about his agenda or his plans that he intend to bring to the community for the betterment of the community. And I really enjoy talking to him. It's my honor to really speak to him, and I wish him good luck in his nomination selection. And I hope that in future, if he's the elected one, and if he sits in the provincial cabinet, I would love to have another conversation with him at another date and time, and we'll be really enjoying that conversation. So I wish him best of luck. And once again, Mr. Imran Mian, thank you so much for sparing that time. I know you're a busy person, but thank you so much. And it's really a pleasure to talk to you. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. All right, viewers, until next time, goodbye.